Have you ever noticed that some people don't announce their intelligence? Yet the moment they speak, everything feels calmer, clearer, and more grounded? They don't dominate conversations. They don't argue loudly. They don't try to prove anything. And yet, you feel their presence immediately. Here's the truth most people never hear. True intelligence is not defined by what people do. It is defined by what they consciously refuse to do. Not because they are superior. Not because they are detached from life. But because they understand something deeper about the mind, the ego, and human behavior. Today, we're going to explore the behaviors highly intelligent people consistently avoid, not from arrogance, but from awareness. And stay until the end. Because the final insight quietly shapes every area of your life, your relationships, your peace, your self-worth, and almost everyone gets it wrong without realizing it. Welcome to the Mind Kit. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Redefining Intelligence Beyond IQ. Before we go any further, we need to clear something important. Intelligence is not memorizing facts, speaking in complex words, winning debates, or appearing confident at all times. Those are performances. True intelligence reveals itself in how someone thinks under pressure, how they respond emotionally, how they handle uncertainty, and how they relate to their own ego. Carl Jung once suggested that real maturity begins when the ego stops trying to dominate reality. And modern psychology confirms this. Research in cognitive and emotional intelligence shows that highly intelligent individuals are not defined by brilliance alone, but by restraint, awareness, and self-regulation. Interestingly, what separates them most clearly from others is what they do not engage in. Let's explore that. Chapter 2. Intelligent people never pretend to know what they don't. One of the clearest signs of true intelligence is surprisingly simple. They are comfortable saying, "I don't know." Most people are terrified of those words. Why? Because from early childhood, many of us learned that not knowing meant being judged, being seen as inferior, or losing approval. So we learn to perform knowledge. We fill the silence with vague answers. We speak confidently about things we barely understand. We protect our image rather than our accuracy. But intelligent people choose truth over ego. They understand something subtle yet powerful. Pretending to know is far more dangerous than admitting uncertainty. Jung called this inflation of the ego, when the self confuses surface knowledge with true understanding. Highly intelligent individuals have what psychologists call intellectual humility. Not self-doubt, not insecurity, but clarity. They know exactly where their knowledge ends, and they are not ashamed of that boundary. Because they understand. Knowledge grows only where honesty exists, curiosity dies where ego dominates. If this resonates with you, pause for a moment. Gently like this video, it helps this message reach minds that are ready for depth, not performance. Chapter 3. They do not argue to win. Here's something most people misunderstand. Constantly arguing is not a sign of intelligence. It's a sign of emotional attachment to identity. Highly intelligent people rarely engage in pointless debates. They don't correct everyone, defend themselves unnecessarily, or argue with people who are not open to understanding. Why? Because they recognize when a conversation is about truth and when it's about ego. And ego-based conversations drain energy without producing insight. Jung believed that when people argue compulsively, they are often defending an unconscious wound, not a belief. Intelligent people see this. They ask, is this conversation meaningful? Is the other person open? Will anything grow from this exchange? If the answer is no, they walk away. Not because they lack opinions, but because they value peace, clarity, and depth over validation. When they do engage in discussion, it's not to dominate, but to explore. That's intelligence in its mature form. Chapter 4. They respect the depth of knowledge. We live in an age of surface-level learning. A video here, an article there, a few quotes saved, and suddenly people feel like experts. Highly intelligent people never confuse exposure with mastery. They understand. Reading about psychology doesn't make you a therapist watching documentaries, doesn't make you a scientist consuming information, doesn't equal integration. Psychologists call this epistemic humility, the awareness of how much you don't know. Intelligent people study deeply, ask better questions, respect experience, and never rush to conclusions. They are lifelong students, not because they feel incomplete, but because they recognize depth is sacred. If you value this kind of wisdom, leave a comment sharing which insight is resonating most so far. Your reflection strengthens this community. Chapter 5. They don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. This is one of the most powerful distinctions. Highly intelligent people feel deeply, but they are not ruled by emotion. They do not send messages while angry, make promises while euphoric, in things while overwhelmed, define themselves during sadness. They practice emotional regulation, not suppression. They understand emotions as information, not commands. Trauma psychology tells us that impulsive decisions often come from unprocessed emotional states. Intelligent people pause. They ask, is this feeling temporary? What is this emotion trying to tell me? What will I think about this tomorrow? This space between feeling and action is wisdom, and wisdom prevents regret. Chapter 6. They welcome being challenged. Most people seek agreement. Intelligent people seek expansion. They do not surround themselves with yes people, constant validation, or echo chambers. They welcome respectful disagreement. Why? Because they have a growth mindset, as psychologist Carol Dweck describes. Being wrong doesn't threaten them, it teaches them. They don't protect their intelligence. They refine it. That's why their thinking evolves. If this mindset speaks to you, subscribe to the Mind Kit. This channel exists for minds that want to grow, not perform. Chapter 7. They do not confuse being busy with being meaningful. Here's the final, life-changing truth. Highly intelligent people do not worship busyness. They understand. Activity is not progress, exhaustion is not achievement, hustle is not purpose. They prioritize effectiveness, not appearance. They rest without guilt. They think deeply. They choose fewer, better goals. This protects creativity, mental health, and clarity. Peter Drucker said it best. Doing the right things matters more than doing things right. Intelligent people live by this. Finally, the quiet core of true intelligence. When you combine all of this, something beautiful emerges. True intelligence is honest, calm, curious, emotionally mature, and deeply grounded. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't shout. It doesn't compete. It simply knows when to stop. And that is where wisdom lives.